All right, and we are live. And here I thought Todd was never going to push the button on the cancel in the previous stream. Well, anyway, hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
And together we are the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
Not only that, but we founded the company, so we've got that going for us too.
You'll read that line with a little more enthusiasm, Justin.
Not only that, but we founded the company, so we've got that going for us too.
We'll workshop that.
Wait, is this live?
Anyway, yeah. We will be your host for this episode and every episode.
Unless we're not.
Right.
Today is our 6th episode.
And of course, hopefully it's not our last.
Why would it be our last?
Well, as always, and per usual, our show could get canceled.
Why would it get canceled?
Well, we might leak some big, important spoiler.
Oh no, like what?
Well, we might accidentally tell people of the new Magic the Gathering crossover champion that's coming soon, Eliwick Tumblestrom.
Well, I won't tell anyone if you don't.
Well, fair enough. I'll do my best.
We are here to answer your development and design questions, specifically on Idle Champions, but if you ask us about some of our other games, we might answer those.
We'll probably answer those.
Maybe.
That said, if you don't ask any questions, this week you may have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of Rise of the Skywalker.
I actually literally have not seen that movie, but I'll do my best. Anyway, updates for this week. Last week, some folks asked if we could talk a little bit about our big multiplayer co-op feature that is coming out later this year.
Wait, that was 2 weeks ago, actually.
Or 2 weeks ago, people asked about that. We do, I guess we kind of have an update on that. And the update on that is game development is really hard. And we were planning to put that out sometime in the summer, but unfortunately we've had to push it back a little bit. So we still don't have anything to share with that. And in fact, it's going back to not to the drawing board, but it's going back to it's going in for more QA and more testing, and hopefully it'll come out a little bit stronger, because we literally just ran out of time because game dev it's really hard.
I mean, that feature also again suffered from us having half of our development staff out of the office again from COVID, which really did put a hindrance on the collaborative efforts on that one. So it's moving along, but it wasn't going to meet our standards, our quality standards for when we wanted to launch it. So it's been pushed around. So
we will have more information on that at a future date once it is a little bit more polished.
Yeah, part of that actually is we wanted to get it in front of some of our community members who help us with that sort of thing before we pushed it out. True. And it didn't look like we would have time to do that if we continued our timeline on that. So those people will know first when it's coming. You know who you are.
So one other thing we normally do at the beginning of episodes is look at some of the questions from last week that we didn't get a chance to do. And so I think we've pulled a couple forward from last week. We actually did a pretty good job of answering a lot of questions last week. But I think there's a couple there, Dave, if you want to shoot those my way.
No, we went over those with a fine-tooth comb, and we only came up with 2 that look good. So we'll start with these. Both of these are for you, Justin.
Oh, boy.
The first one is from Ironuk, and they're asking, do you have an idea on the life cycle of Idle Champions? Is this a couple more years, or do you have plans for 5 years or more?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we say this from time to time, but we are planning to continue updating Idle Champions at roughly the rate that we update it right now. So a new event every 3 weeks, content updates between those, and a major feature or two every year, and patrons and balance updates and all that normal stuff for as long as people are playing it, really. As long as it makes sense for us to do so, we will continue to do that. And at this point, it's looking like that is measured in many years. We certainly have no intention of slowing down in the next couple of years. So yeah, I mean, 5 years or more would definitely be our answer for that one.
Yeah, I mean, if Bushwhacker 2 is any any example, we're gonna run it until everyone leaves. We're not turning the lights out until then. Hopefully it's a long time from now.
Yeah.
The next question is from Permalost, and they asked, is there any automation around testing formation layouts or the balance of champions, or is it all done manually?
Yeah, I saw this question. It's a great question. We do all of our balance testing manually and with spreadsheets. It's really, really hard to automate kind of some of that balance testing stuff because of the fact that there's just so many combinations and so many different ways that champions can go together. So I think I spoke to this last episode or the episode before about how there's just so many combinations that we can't possibly test all of them. And what we need to do is kind of test the ones we think are most likely, and then just get stuff out there in front of you guys, and you guys will find all of the edge case combinations that we maybe didn't think of, or that we just didn't have time to find. And that's why one of the things we generally try to do is to underpower, not really underpower, but sort of we play it a little bit conservative with new champions as much as possible, because we don't want there to be unintended consequences. We don't really like to have to nerf champions. So a lot of our testing and stuff is around just making sure that they're working and that they're not too OP. There's not a really obvious silly balance thing that we didn't think of, like, we make a champion that is really good with chaotic good champions, and then we're like, oh wait, we forgot there was 70% of our champions were chaotic good. So yeah, so for the most part it's done manually for the balance, and then the basic balance is all done against a balance spreadsheet that we've developed.
I hope they can't hear that. Sorry,
What's going on over there?
My notifications are going on me. My bad.
Well, I can't hear it, but that doesn't necessarily mean
I think they can. Yep. Windows. I gotta turn that off.
I'm just gonna start making notification noises. Just to
As long as you don't make the Zoom call hang up noise, we're good.
I don't even know what the Zoom call hang up noise is.
No, it's the
I know the Skype one.
That's the one. Right.
Those
getting more than you came for. Cool. All right.
Let's see. We've got a bunch of questions coming in. Wow, thank you guys for getting these in so quickly.
Well,
where do you want to start?
I got these two purple ones here. Let's start with an easy one. At least LSB should be straightforward. General Spookabic is asking, what is each of your favorite champions and why? Or favorite champion? You have to pick one, Justin. Just one.
One champion.
That's it? One.
My favorite champion.
And why?
Man, that's a tough one. That's like, which is your favorite child? That's really easy for me to answer right now because I only have one child. But if I had multiples, if I had, say, 85 kids, that would be very hard.
It depends which child is asking.
Depends which kids are in the room at the time. And there's no other champions in the room here with me, so I can pretty much say whatever I want. I really enjoyed the design of Human. Most recently, that's the one that's kind of freshest in my head of champion designs that I really liked. Not just for the balance and stuff and the design, which I think is great because I did it, but also the visuals of how Human looks. And I think there's going to be some very interesting skins, or at least I know there's one skin that's coming out for Human as part of the multiplayer feature, actually, that I think you guys will really, really dig, and it's hilarious. So Human would be my answer.
Yeah, no, that's a tough question. My go-to, and it's been my go-to for a long time, and I haven't updated it, and I really should. Although, do you update your? I guess you do. But my favorite was Deacon, and there's a couple of reasons around that. One is because when we came to the point where we needed an extra one, I was like, Prod, Deacon, we should put Deacon in, and it's mainly because I played Neverwinter Nights, and Deacon was one of my favorite characters from that game. But I do think we've added some more champions at this point that are cooler. That I still don't want to get.
I think Deacon was champion number certainly in the first 20. So
yeah, I do really like
60 since then.
Yeah, I do really like the skins we've added for Krull. Krull is a really awesome character there. But I think Deacon still takes the win on that one, just because it was like, I got to put a character in that was one of my favorite characters.
We both like those speed champions.
Yeah.
For some reason.
And there's another question just above that. That's another one that I think is for both of us. And that is Kings and Vagabonds asks, what is your guys' thoughts on build your own wild offer weekend or something? Waiting 6 months to buy a familiar is odd.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Obviously, a bunch of the stuff that shows up in the wild offers, like it's great that it can show up there, but as we go and as we add more stuff in there, as like packs retire and stuff rotates out, it certainly makes a very big pool for those wild offers to pull from. I think we have some ideas of things we're going to do to wild offers. I think we were thinking about maybe running multiple wild offers at a time, or trying to be a little bit more prescriptive over some of the stuff that pops up there, because we have a pretty good idea of what the more popular items are in the wild offers, and we'd like to, well, obviously, we'd like to offer those to people.
That's right. Step 1, find out what's popular. Step 2, offer it up.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I could picture this when I read that. I thought that's sort of an interesting thought. We could certainly do something where you had, like, choose one from column A, one from column B, one from like a sort of a selection where we've put together a number of options, and then you end up sort of put together your own custom pack. It's not like a fully custom pack in terms of like, hey, pick whatever you want, but it's more of a
pick the price. $1, please.
Oh, I was going to go with free.
Oh, right.
Okay. Is that in the list of prices I can pick?
It's not in the available list of prices. No, we have a tough time keeping the lights on.
That's fair. Still.
Though in this heat, I think the lights being off would be fine.
That's fair. Yeah,
you guys are going to periodically see me drinking out of my invisible water bottle, and that's just because the temperatures here are getting ridiculous.
Yeah, I heard an update was it was supposed to be 33 on Monday coming up.
30. See, that's low. I heard 38, and we're talking Celsius here. That's I think it said in Vancouver. I read that there was a high of 40, which I think is 100 and something Fahrenheit. Like, you're getting into the 100 and teens. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, thankfully I'm over here in the air-conditioned unit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lucky you.
Those are probably may or may not have heard our HVAC in our main office has broken. It broke about 3 weeks ago, and it has left us with large fans running behind me trying to blow the cool air into the other unit, which is, I don't know that it's working as well as it should, but Justin, who's squirreled away in the streaming room on that side, is not he's not happy.
I'm in the hot box.
Yeah, you are in the hot box. All right, let's answer a question, though.
That's a good idea.
Let's do question 3. General Lithron. Wait, no, that's general type. Lithron asks, one question, lol. Can you run more than one time gate at a time, as I have 60 time gate pieces, and we have a time gate running in 22 hours?
Yeah, so you cannot run more than one time gate at a time. I don't think we'd have any plans to allow that, just because it would require a pretty major overhaul of how the system works in the back end. But you can actually start a time gate, and you can close it as soon as you want, and run them kind of back to back to back as you've kind of done what you want to do out of it. So you don't necessarily have to run a time gate for the full 3 days that it naturally runs for. As well, for the weekend time gates that open up for free, you can open those up at any point during the weekend and run it for 72 hours from then, or as long as you need to from then. So yeah, I mean, if you really want to and you're really focused, you can probably burn through those time gate pieces pretty quickly. It's just a question of how much you want to run in that time gate, whether you want to run it for the full 3 days or just run the 3 adventures and then like some free play until you get as many silver chests as you feel comfortable with. So yeah, I think that answers that question. Let's see. I've got one here that is I've got several shades of blue here, Dave.
I'm not, being particular.
So we've got a question here from Techniskix, who asks, is there any ETA or workaround to a fix for the Epic Games overlay not working? Right now, we can't make any purchases, and it's the summer sale.
So I checked in with Peter on this after I heard the question I saw some posts about this over the weekend, actually. I think it was during one of the streams on the weekend, this question came up, and I was trying to help out with it. But my understanding is they haven't tracked it down yet. Sort of an offering or an offer. One option one can try, and I know it's not an ideal option, is if you do have access to another computer, try running it there. Like, load up your account, provided it's on a machine that you trust, and if there's a difference there because of something that's going on with the way the overlay interacts with the display driver or something like that, then you may very well find that you can do it from that computer, because it does seem like it is affecting, it's not affecting everybody, it's affecting a small handful of people, but it's enough people that it's getting that question quite a bit. So I do know that Peter is looking into that for sure. He just doesn't have an answer at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's that one's been with us since we were released on Epic Games. We just haven't been able to figure out what is going on there.
Is that the same one that was because I know there was another issue around the overlay regarding Windows 7 players, because that wasn't working at all. But anyway, we're definitely looking into it. Certainly, we don't want to block you from your ability to make purchases in game. That's not in our interest at all. So we're definitely looking at it. All right. Question 8 from Tyron30 asks, are there any plans to help new players acquire gear for retired champions? It can take as many as 18 time gates to gear out one in purples.
Yeah, so I think we answer this question pretty much every week or two, which is fine by me, because I'm happy to talk about all of the various ways that you can get gear for champions without necessarily getting exactly their chests. So one of the ways you can do it is by typing in the code at the top of the screen, which will give you an Electrum chest. I think it's at the top of the screen. I don't actually know where it is on our overlay. Yes, it's over.
It's right above your head.
Over here? Over here? I'm not sure which way it is. Yeah. Okay. I was pointing at it.
One of those.
I had to
works.
wait for the stream to catch up. Anyway, it's up there, and that'll give you an Electrum chest. Electrum chests can drop gear for any champion that you have unlocked. They can only drop up to rare, but it's still a good way to gear up those champions. Obviously, you can do time gates, as you mentioned, to get the gold chests for the champion specific, and you can also get patron chests. Patron chests will drop up to epic gear for any of the champions that are eligible for that patron. So that's another way that you can definitely get some gear for the retired champions, because it'll apply to them as well. It doesn't matter whether it's a year 1 champion, year 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever. So that's a couple of ways that you can get gear for retired champions, and for any champion really. And right now, I don't think we're talking about adding any additional ways to do that, but it's certainly something that we'll keep our ears to the ground. And if we hear that it's starting to get egregious, we will absolutely take action there, because we don't want it to be impossible, or even like really, 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 really hard. Like, we want it to be certainly something that you can do if you're dedicated.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Justin, I'm looking through this doc for additional questions, and I see a couple here that I think I'm just going to blindside you with, because they look fun.
Crap.
Like this one, we got one here from Garwar, and he says, some of us have been waiting 3 years for item level refunds on items that have caps. Is this still happening? And if so, what is the priority on it?
So, thanks, Dave, for that question. That's a great question. So actually, I believe I've actually written the code for this, or at least I've written half the code. Every time I go into the loot handler, I see the little function that I wrote for it 3 years ago, and I'm not actually sure why I haven't finished that up yet and pushed that out. I think maybe it's just I still wanted to kind of think about it, but now that it's kind of been mentioned here, I could certainly take another look at it and see if it's something that we can push out.
It's not one of those pieces of code you open the file and you look at it and sort of
I would have to
and then
I would have to
close the
double
file.
check. I have to double check that it even works with, like, if we've done any refactors or stuff since then. But yeah, I mean, we do want to do this. I think one of the reasons we were holding out on it earlier on was because we weren't sure what we were going to do with like legendary level gear and stuff like that, and any sort of maybe gear rebalancing. And we didn't necessarily want to take item levels away from pieces of equipment until we were sure that you would never actually want those, because the worst thing we could do is take the item levels away and then like a couple months later do a rebalance of gear or a refactor of how gear, or like get rid of ultimate cooldown gear or something like that, and then just have everyone be like, oh, now I want those item levels on that gear. So I think at this point we're pretty sure that kind of major refactor isn't going to happen, at least not in the near term. So I think that's something I can take another look at. I might even highlight that with our action item color and take a stab at that.
Cool. All right. Before you ask another question for me, I was just looking at the top here, and I see one that I thought might as well just answer this. It was one of the first questions that was asked actually today, and it was by Udu Virus Vendetta. And they were
General
Udu Virus Vendetta. Yep, no, for sure. They were asking, are there any plans to integrate Twitch bits or subs for one-time codes or shop item redemptions? And I think I can answer that quite simply at the moment, which is there are no plans for that at the moment. That would be a marketing thing, which wouldn't be on us in particular, but to my knowledge, there are no plans for that. Doesn't necessarily feel like something we would do, but I can't say never. Cool. All right, move on.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, there's a couple more here that I have highlighted.
I want to ask question 9, Justin. We'll go with that.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Here's one for you, Dave. From Zeldorons. Interesting. Question is it known that the pipe selector on console and Xbox has the fun habit of losing the cursor, i.e. you cannot select any pipes? Some filter toggling can bring it back, but it is annoying. That does sound annoying.
It does. That's why I highlighted it. I'm just going to color that as something to bring up because I didn't know that was happening.
I haven't heard of that either.
And so someone should look at that because that sounds really annoying.
Yeah, it should not be doing that.
That's right.
I don't know if is that, I guess this would be a good point to plug the bug tracker, the public bug tracker. That could be a good place to put that kind of thing. If you haven't already, we have a public bug tracker, and you can put those kind of issues, and then other people can go in and upvote them. And I believe every Monday morning, the dev team, Dave, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, every Monday or every couple of Mondays.
Every Monday morning.
Yeah, the dev team will go over that and look at the sort of the upvoted ones from the recent past and
assign them to whoever's doing bugs that week. Yep.
Yeah.
And where would they find that bug tracker, Justin?
Oh man, that's I think you can get to it by going through the support page.
So it looks like actually Lauren has put it into the chat there, but
yeah, Lauren is awesome. Thanks, Lauren.
Beat you to it. But yeah, if you lose that link, but just remember you can access it through the help page in game by clicking support. So
yes, which is done in various different ways depending on whether you're on console or PC.
Yeah, and it's actually best if you do bring it up through game, because the link that Lauren is sharing won't have your account information in it unless you've previously opened the help page.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
Let's see here. You want to give me 10 or 11?
Sure. Let's do both.
Yeah. Okay.
Another question here from Garwar is asking any ETA on the new blessings, T4 for Waterdeep Avernus and T+2 for Icewind Dale.
Yeah, so I actually talked to Dupuy about this. He's the master of the calendar. Gives me permission to add things in and asks if I can add things in and vice versa. Yeah, I think we're going to try and fit the new blessings in either for the autumn celebration or sorry, I guess the anniversary celebration, but it's really the autumn celebration, or the winter celebration. So before the end of the year, I think, and I say that with the caveat of it could potentially not be that, but that is currently what we are aiming for. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, game dev is hard, and sometimes it doesn't go the way that we want, but that's what we want. So we will see. Yeah, you want to do 11 here as well?
I'll think about it.
Oh, okay. Well, while you're thinking about it, I'm going to take a drink of water because it is cooking in here.
All right. So a question here from Mr. Aristic, and they're asking, much simpler question than multiplayer. I know you've probably gotten this a lot before, but is there a reason there's no magic using tank champions? Is it a game balance thing? I've noticed that more high strength, high intelligent characters and the magic tanks would help for the same reason. For certain variants, it would help. Love the game and thanks.
Yeah. So this is a great question. We get this question quite a bit, and it's not, there's no like game balance reason why we don't have a magic using tank. There's no like stat reason or any sort of lore reason or anything like that. It is, it's mainly because we just haven't had a chance to do it yet. I want to do a magic using tank as like one of our next kind of tanks, but oftentimes when we're doing like a content creator's character, like there's just not a lot of magic users out there that are like the first ones into battle. There's this kind of stereotype that if you're a magic user, you're kind of hanging out at the back and sort of putting away at whatever you're fighting, kind of thing. So in terms of content creator characters, it's very rare that we'll see one of those come across. So it really needs to wait for one of our sort of CNE original characters, which we only get to do a couple of times a year. So yeah, I mean, it's something we definitely want to do. It's high on my kind of to-do list for one of the next kind of CNE originals. And yeah, like some people in chat are saying there are kind of some magic using tanks. But I think what Mr. Istic is asking about here is more of like just like, a really like an arcane, what's the fighter class that uses magic? Krond is one of them. Anyway, one of those, or someone that literally is just like throwing out fireballs or eldritch blasts or something from the front, or just using like Garwar says, using a magic attack as their base attack, so they can be used with like Olcoria or any of the other kind of magic focused setups. So yeah, it's a good question, and it's definitely something we want to do. There's no reason really that we haven't done it, aside from it just hasn't come across our desk yet.
Cool. All right. So I got a question here that I'm flagged in purple that I think we're just going to use this to highlight my ignorance. The question is from Orculio. Could you in the future translate the game into, and they wrote BR, which I assume is Brazilian, which would be Portuguese. Is that correct? See, that's my
that's my assumption as well, but maybe our dual ignorance is showing.
Undoubtedly. And then that raises the other question, which is we have, of course, let players know that we are working on localizing the game.
Yeah.
Can you remember what's on that list, Justin?
I am pretty sure that is one of the languages on the list that we want to aim for. Yeah.
But without the list in front of me, for some reason I'm having a hard time remembering what's on that. But yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Portuguese is on there, Brazilian Portuguese specifically.
Right. So the answer to that is, unless we are totally off base, the answer is yes. Yeah.
Which we
and
could
in
be.
Progress.
Yeah.
Let's hope that's not a correction at the beginning of next episode.
Maybe it will be.
No.
Maybe we'll just highlight that one in yellow and just double check that.
Yeah.
Just confirm that for next episode. So tune in next time, which, spoiler alert, is going to be in 2 weeks, because next week is Canada Day. But anyway, yeah. Let's take a look at one of these questions down here. People are just talking about all the various magic using classes that can be tanks. This is good. I got to grab this chat afterwards and get all their good ideas. Here we go. Here's a question for you, Dave. I think. This is from Star Chaser 43.
Where are we at?
We are right here where my cursor is blocking off the question.
I see it.
Said, are there any plans for a search/filter mechanism for familiars? The selection box can now nearly fill the screen, and with the game still running, well, unwanted things can happen.
Yep. So the fun thing about this question is I saw someone ask something similar around this earlier in the week, and I think these questions end up filtering into the chat sometimes, or at least once the discussion happens on the Discord. But the answer on this one, interestingly enough, is that not only do we have plans for that, we had a whole bunch of this features all planned out and designed, and I believe at the beginning of the year, it was on the plate because we were adding new familiars. And it ended up being a time crunch between that, and priority went to Idle Champions Presents. So I know that was scheduled at that time, and I think it just it slipped through the cracks. But of course, because it was discussed earlier in the week, I know it is resurfaced on the radar, and I know we, as we add more and more familiars, that display can only get so large before it's really just or untenable rather, and it may even be at the untenable mark at this point. It's very close. It's teetering on the brink of tipping over, especially if you have all of the familiars that you can get that actually don't show in there, like the special familiars that came from the one-time events, because we don't show them in there if you can't currently obtain them. So so yeah. So the answer is yes, there are plans for that. There's even designs already laid out for it. Just needs to get some implementation time on that. So my gut feeling is that the next time Dupuis goes to add more familiars, it'll be the priority item.
Yes, it's getting a little bit out of hand there.
Okay.
I've highlighted several new questions. In fact, I've just gone through, and all the questions we haven't answered so far, I've just highlighted them all.
We're going back up to the top then, because you might as well just.
Oh well, I didn't do that one.
All right, it's fine. You don't need to worry about spoilers.
Yeah. 4 and 12 are actually a little bit. Well, no, it's fine. Yeah, go for 4. Let's do them. 4 first.
So we've got a question here from Hollow Leviathan. And they're asking, are you happy with the current pace of players getting Modron chests?
So I highlighted this question because I'm actually curious whether players think that the current pace is too quick or too slow. So you can just let me know in chat what you guys think about this. That would help me kind of figure out what direction we want to go with this, because I kind of I put it in there, and you mainly get them through. Obviously from patrons each week, and so the more patrons you unlock, you get more chests each week, assuming you do the thing.
Justin Lawrence asking if we should start a poll. Sounds like a poll is the thing that they can start.
So, oh sure, yeah. So start a poll. And it looks like we might need some granularity on slow, because it's either too slow, okay, or too slow. It does look like it's on too slow. So, I mean, that's something we can take a look at, because it actually kind of relates to the next question here.
Okay. Question 12.
Number 12.
Spiffy Man asks, will we ever see...
No, it's Spiffy Man. There's extra S's and F's in there.
I'm going to have to see an enunciation.
You're going to have to pronounce those.
But Spiffy Man asks, will we ever see champions or blessing perks specifically to make patron chores? Chores go faster. Even with existing speed champs, they take quite a while to complete. Maybe something that makes more stages or enemy count extra for patron challenges.
Yeah, so this is, I think this one is related kind of because of the fact that your main source of Modron chests is going to be from patrons. And so it's one of the reasons that it kind of feels like chores, is because you have to go, in order to get Modron chests the fastest, you have to go and do your challenges for your patrons, or just play the patrons on free play, etc., to get the currency for those every week. And I think that's definitely something that we were initially aware of. When we initially launched patrons, we just had 2 patrons. Now we're up to 4. It'll probably be 5 by the end of the year, spoilers. And so it's one of those things where it gets kind of, the problem gets worse and worse kind of as we go. And similar to how, we changed events after year 3 to only have 3 champions in them and 3 years worth of events in them, so that we weren't overwhelming people with event content. I think I'm not saying we're going to do exactly that same thing with patrons. We're definitely not going to do that. But I think ways to make these patron chores go a little bit faster is definitely something that we will be thinking of as we approach that kind of fifth patron, because it definitely is a lot of work to do 10 challenges for 4 patrons, for 5 patrons every week, to max out your Modron pace. So it's certainly possible that by fixing, quote unquote, the rate at which you can do these chores, that could also help with the previous question about the pace of Modron chests. So yeah, it's a really good question. Thank you, Spiffy Man. who says that we can just pronounce it normally.
You know, Sfifian.
Sfifian.
All right. The next question is, move your cursor. Says, what led you guys to decide not to give the speed core automation at level 1? And I'm going to just adjust that question to match actually the reality of it. What led you, Justin, to decide not to give the speed core automation at level 1?
I just, I think it's not just the speed core that doesn't have automation at level 1. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, I mean, the automation's a really powerful thing, and so we were thinking that maybe we just don't necessarily give it all the time at level 1. Force you to do a little bit of grinding, old-fashioned grinding, before you unlock really what's one of the core benefits, pun intended, of the Modron core system. So yeah, I mean, I think it's really just the initial one that has automation right away, and both the one you get for 500,000 gems and the speed core, I don't think unlock it for a couple of levels, which isn't too bad. Like, I think it's a few thousand XP to get to the second level, and I think they unlock on the third level or something like that. So yeah, it was just a design decision to make those a little bit more to make it a little bit more rewarding to level up those cores. Give you
want that ability, you gotta earn it.
You gotta earn it. Exactly.
Okay. We've got a question down here that I flagged as purple. I've got a couple of them, but
I see them.
And some of these actually aren't too bad. So question here, question 22. And I don't know if you can remember this far back, Justin, but if the players, if this is to be believed, it says that you said that there was a champion coming that would blow your minds. Do you remember what champion this was? And was it Eliwick Tumblestrom?
I'm pretty sure it was Eliwick that I was referring to. But don't tell anyone that I was referring to Eliwick. My God, they will hunt me down. There's no spoilers allowed.
All right.
The efforts we went through to hide that from the data miners, man.
Yeah, but now in the future, when they see a champion like that, they'll think something special's coming.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we've done it.
Cool.
Oh, hey, the poll has ended.
Oh, way too slow. A bit too slow.
Are those the only two options? So, wait, there must be more options to the... Oh, here we go. Just right, it's 23. And nobody said the pace of Modron chess is too fast. So I will definitely not slow it down. The people have spoken. Needs to be faster. Good to know. So we'll take a look at that and see if there's some stuff we do to kind of give it another Modron chest or two. Maybe next week we can do a Modron chest as the weekly code or something like that.
Yeah, seems like something we have the power to do.
Let's see. Give Dave a question or two. Here's a question from Techman Sam, who asks, are there any plans for a Mac version on the Epic Games Store?
So the answer at the moment is no, not right now. And mainly it's from a technical limitation issue, is that they don't have a nice way to integrate the Epic overlay into Unity, which is what the game is built in, for the Mac version. And we had to do a little bit of bending over backwards to get it to hook into the Windows one, but that was something that we had the technical know-how to do, and it's something we're missing on the Mac side. So at this time, we don't have plans for the Mac version, and it's because we were unable to sort of connect the two pieces together in a way that worked. So we may have time to look into that in the future, but at the moment we don't have plans for that. We recommend, if you're playing on Mac, just play on Steam. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I got another one here for you before we dive back into the me questions. And this is actually a really good question, which I like, so I will ask it of you. It's from it's from Terracash, and it's following up on the localization stuff we talked about earlier. And they asked, will the localization language be choosable by the player, or will that be locked by the system locale? I use German Windows, but I still like to have my games in English.
Yeah, so that's definitely a good question, or It's not a good question. It's a great question in so much that it's not a good question if we don't have the answer.
It's not a good question. It's a great question.
Sorry, I felt like it came off as like, well, that's a good question. There's no answer to that. No, the actual answer is it would default by localization or default by the system locale, but there will be an option in the setting to pick any language that you prefer. That's available, of course. So that is something that you'll be able to set yourself.
I want it in Klingon.
Yeah, me too.
500,000 words. Translate into Klingon, please.
That was cost prohibitive, though. Yeah. Okay. There's another question under that I thought we could discuss, actually, and that was how many champions are, this is by CSR Ghost, and they're asking how many champions are typically being developed simultaneously behind the scenes. And I guess the question on that was sort of how would you define simultaneously? Because certainly we start the intake and then there's design pieces, and then one or more of the developers are working on the actual implementation of the champion's abilities and features, and as well as before, or often sort of intermixed with that, which is sometimes before and sometimes during, and sometimes pieces come in after, is actually doing the art around that.
So, I mean, I think this is a really good question. Like, this is not a good question. This is a really good question. So thank you, CSR Ghost, for this one. I think you're right. I mean, I think it basically kind of splits up by teams. So there's sort of 4 steps that champions go through. In that sort of the first step is we do, if it's a content creator champion, we'll do a call with the content creator, and we will talk with them about what makes their character tick, and we'll get a lot of information from them, and then that will inform the actual design, which generally I do, of all their abilities and their attacks and whatnot. And then that also simultaneously goes over to the art team, who use sort of my design and what the content creator said, or what, if we're not doing a content creator, then what our kind of other sources for that are, and they'll do the art for that. And then both the art and the design goes into the actual development team, and they do the code and make the champion work the way it's designed, and then it goes into
not always the way it's designed.
Okay. The way that they think that the words I wrote should make it work, which 99% of the time is exactly the same, and once in a while is completely wrong. And then it goes from that into testing. So really, there's kind of like 4 states that a champion can be in, and more often than not, there's one champion kind of in each of those states. We've got our one developer who generally does most of the champion implementation. He's pretty much just burning through the champions at the same rate that I'm sort of designing them, which is roughly equal to the rate at which they're coming in, maybe a little bit slower than the rate at which they're coming in. And Art generally is working on one champion at a time. So I would say the simple answer is at any time, there's probably about 4 champions being kind of worked on at a time. We're generally 2 or 3 champions kind of done, quote unquote, in the kind of testing phase, ahead of wherever we are with release. So for example, we just released Celise a couple of weeks ago, and I think we've got the next 3 champions are tech locked, and the next one after that is, there's actually 2 or 3 champions that are design locked. Beyond that, and then there's at least 2, I think, that are in art. And then we've got, that first kind of content creator call, I think we've done with 2 or 3 other champions beyond that. So I've got a couple that I need to get to work on the next time I am on a content creation day. But yeah, so there's plenty being developed behind the scenes. It's actually we actually ramped up that pipeline quite a bit from when we first started doing this. When we were kind of just like one champion at a time for the whole gang, and now we're much more streamlined on that.
Cool. All right. Well, we're looking for time. I'm just sort of looking at the time and the number of questions we got here.
10 minutes left.
What do we got that's fun questions?
The last couple have been really good. The questions this week have been really good. Shout out to you guys.
You're just going all like, this is the greatest question. Is this the greatest question you've ever seen? You're starting to remind me of like, Adam Savage from Mythbusters, who's always like, every explosion was his favorite explosion. He just had the memory of a goldfish.
They were his favorite explosions.
Yeah. Well, going forward, every question's your favorite question. So I got your new favorite question here, Justin. Or I did. I've lost it in the doc now. This doc got
just
really
so
big,
many
really fast
good questions.
Today.
Holy crow, there are a whole bunch here. Well, we'll just let this awkward silence continue while you try and find that amazing question.
It's not awkward.
It is if I make it awkward.
You could definitely do that. Well, I had a good question, but honestly, the doc is it's gotten pretty big all of a sudden. So why don't we just do? Why don't you ask me 36, and then we'll try. Or no,
okay, let me scroll down here.
37. Let's go with 37.
37. Okay.
Go for it.
This is why some of the champions take longer to develop than others. Got the decisiveness of a thing that's not decisive. Let's see. Question 36 for you, Dave.
Oh, I was going for 37. We'll do them all.
I'll do 36 and then 37. How's about that? From Preceptor Teeth. Okay, anyway. Any plans to add some sort of metrics dashboard? Would love to see some global stats.
Yeah, so I mean that's a really neat idea that we had in. Well, I think there's two layers to that. And one of them would be your internal account stats, which I know we do have in Crusaders, but we never did end up putting in to Champions, a way you actually look at those stats. And I know that's something that, especially after you've been playing the game for a significant amount of time, is cool to look at and see sort of how many thousand monsters or hundreds of thousands of monsters maybe you've killed over
millions.
The course of yes. Millions and millions. But it's something that we just haven't. I'm not sure why we didn't end up putting that in. We got partially in and we had partial stats. There's no reason we shouldn't have put that in at some point. And then the second question would be, when you say global stats, is that something that's like, across the game, between every player, we have killed X number of million monsters or so many hours played, or which is also pretty fun to see. But I don't think we have any plans at the moment to add that, but I do think it's a cool idea. So,
yeah. I mean, I think I've spoken, maybe not on Dev Insights, but certainly when I was a guest on Idle Insights, I think I've spoken before about my desire to do like an overhaul of the collection screen, essentially, to just give players all of this information about their accounts and like how much of each monster they've killed, how many of the monsters in the game they've killed out of all of them that are available. So you can have like a whole bunch of really fun progress bars to fill, because one of the big fun things about the game is just doing everything you can do. So yeah, I mean, I would love to do something like that, but it's a whole bunch of work that doesn't create like a brand new system. So it's challenging to find the time to spend on that.
Okay. Well, being cognizant of how much time we have left, I was going to say for the next question there, which was another one from Spiffy Man, I'll just straight up answer it, which is he's asking if the iOS familiar box can be closed or can't be closed unless you open another window. We are not aware of that, and we shall take a look at it. So I'm just going to highlight that.
Make it so.
And then actually I saw someone commented in the chat just now that for a good question, Justin, you can reward them with an Electrum chest.
Well, if you type in "not a spoiler!" you can get an Electrum chest.
But they've already got that one.
Well, that's
go with not a good question. Nope, doesn't fit. Okay. The next one here, though, I think actually this is a good question from Kings and Vagabonds again. Would you guys ever be up for a community-driven contest of design a champion? And I like this question because I know a lot of times players have asked about making their own champion, but of course that's actually a really, really difficult thing to fit into the game.
Really hard, yeah.
But something like a contest where people get to design a champion, and then you, of course, take that and make it fit in the game, that could work. So I don't know what your thoughts on that.
I think we'd have to ask some lawyers, because that sounds like something. That sounds like something that lawyers would go, wait.
Okay. That aside.
But that aside, if we could get some lawyers to sign off on it, I think that would be really fun.
Have other companies not done that? Is that a?
I mean, there's a variety of reasons why you may not do it. I can't necessarily think of really one that some other game company that's done that kind of thing. Yeah. I think it'd be really fun, and like from a kind of indie kind of thing, like it sounds really fun. But yeah, I mean, there's a I can think of a bunch of reasons why a lawyer might go, not a good idea. Yeah, I mean, people are kind of thinking about them in there, like it's ownership, and like there's no way we can verify that like somebody who submits an idea, like that was their original idea, and then if like the original owner comes back to us and it's like, hey, you stole my idea, we'll be like, well, we can't. And then it's like, yeah, it's fraught. But I think one kind of cool way to do it would maybe kind of do it with like community polls. Yeah, that Biohazard 1210 saying here, where you go like, okay, community, do you want this to be like, pick the race, pick the alignment, pick the roles,
start picking elements of the backstory.
Exactly, and then just and build it up in that way. I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a cool idea, and we often see this question quite a bit.
Oh, something's going on behind me.
Oh, somebody closed the doors back.
Yeah, and hopefully players can't, or hopefully people can't hear those fans.
Well, I can see the projector screen getting blown around by them.
Yeah, let me know if you can hear that. Anyway,
I can't hear anything from you, so cool. It probably should be good.
All right. You want to pick the next one? We
probably got time for like one or two more questions. We just go back up here to 19, unless we think.
We got some good ones here near the end too.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I love this question at the bottom here. Being asked by Val. I want to know, is there a plan for a Baldur's Gate 3 collab when it's finally released?
Yeah, that'd be a great question for the marketing team, because I'm not sure what's going on with that. I haven't actually looked at the next few champions in the design pipeline there. I don't think there's anything from Baldur's Gate 3
I was just going to say that sounds awesome, and we should try to do that if we can. I don't necessarily say no, there aren't plans at the moment, but that would be awesome. I'd be all for that.
Then we will just highlight this, and we will go to the marketing team and be like, make it happen. And then they will come back to us and say, what? Do you want to do like question 24? It's a pretty quick one.
Yeah, let's scroll back up.
All the way up, like the friendly giant.
Sly Therios asks, why are there fewer slots in why are there fewer champs in slots 2 and 5 than in any other slot?
This is a good question, and this it's actually I was thinking it was a simple question, but I can actually do a pretty long answer on this one, because part of the champion design process is figuring out what slot to put them into, and we have several spreadsheets that we use to kind of determine that, looking at basically all the various champions that are already in a given slot, and looking at their attacks and their races and genders and roles and alignments, and what patrons they're eligible for, and all that stuff. And we try to make every slot as sort of as diverse as we can. So we don't like to have one slot that's got like 6 chaotic good champions in it, and then one like a neutral champion, because then you can't use that slot if there's an evil requirement or anything other than chaotic. And we do actually have one slot that's like that, and I hate that slot. But I think the main reason there's fewer champions in slot 2 and 5 is just we haven't gotten an event champion recently that is unique enough to go in those slots. We try to make sure that when we slot an event champion in, that it is different enough from the other champions in that slot that we're not basically cloning another champion. Or if we've got a slot, like I say, with a bunch of chaotic good champions in it, that we don't put any more chaotic good champions in there. So yeah, the main reason is we just haven't had event champions recently that that have fit into those slots, but we are looking on every single event to try and fit them in there, because we like to try and keep things pretty even as much as possible.
Good answer.
Oh, thank you. That's not a good answer. Great answer.
It's your favorite
greatest answer
so
in the
far.
world.
Okay, so we probably have time for about maybe one or two very quick more questions, and then I think we're done.
Why don't we do this one down here?
Sure.
So this is a question for you, Dave, from Agoriogo. And they ask, is the WebGL version built entirely separately from the desktop version, or is it still using Unity in some way?
Yeah, so the answer to this one is it's actually a complete 100% separate project, built from the ground up on a library called Pixie.js is the backbone for that, and on top of that we implemented our library that we use in Unity, and then we translate the code by hand from the C# to the Unity. It's something that one of our developers, Jacob, has done an enormous amount of work on keeping that up to date as updates come through. But it is 100% complete different project, complete separate project. So
and Unity does have an export to WebGL kind of feature, but that
at least when we were working on that a couple of years back, it was a dog to work with, and it was slow, and it was really hard to debug, and it used up an enormous amount of memory. All around, it wasn't a viable solution. So that's why we ended up rolling a fresh one.
I seem to recall it took like multiple minutes just to load the loader. Yeah, it was not a good experience.
Yeah, because it took the game and it did a cross compile, and then it took that cross compile and compiled it to WebAssembly, and then it took that WebAssembly and it ran that in this giant block of I remember it being it was a beast. And then it included a whole ton of stuff in the library that we didn't need. But anyway, it's a complete separate project on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all the questions we have time for.
There was one here that I thought was I only have a cheeky answer for, which is Carlston Hald asks, do you have any idea how many people are actually playing the game? I'm just curious, and the answer is, you bet we do. It is not something that we have ever shared publicly, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to start on that one today, but we do know 100%.
Thank you for answering their question. I'm sure they find that very valuable.
I know, I'm a monster. All right, well, let's wrap up, because that's all we got time for.
Yeah, if we didn't get to your question, don't worry. You'll have another opportunity to ask, because we will be streaming again. Not next week. We won't be streaming next week because it's Canada Day up here in Canada. But we'll be live again at this same time 2 weeks from now, which I believe is July 8th. Let me double check that. Yes, July 8th at 2 p.m. Same bat time, same bat channel.
I think you're allowed to say that.
I'm not allowed to say that. Same place, same time.
Copyright.
Before we sign off, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. Today it was Sasha. Thank you, Sasha.
And of course, for all of you for hanging out, watching our stream, asking such great questions today, and enjoying the game. Obviously, without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
Yeah, and we like what we do.
We do. All right. Awesome. Well, thanks, everyone.
Apparently people like it when we do an open mic joke after we fade to the outro screen.
Really? That really seems kind of lame. But if you really want to, we can do one.
I think we just did.